Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Capital Edge Tip Line. My name is Chad Braley. I'm the CEO here at Capital Edge, and we certainly have a lot of things to talk about. Could probably go on for about 24 hours, but we're going to try to keep to our 5-minute-ish limitation. So first and foremost, I wanted to wish a belated birthday to the federal acquisition regulations. The FAR turned 40 on April 1st. And the FAR as we know it is not going to be around much longer. So we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to talk about the FAR rewrite. We're going to talk about DCAA reorganization, at least based on what we know today. And then a little bit about health and human services and their significant layoffs and how it's impacting contractors so far. So let's get to it. FAR rewrite. It's happening. The FAR Council is running this. We're going to end up with what is essential and required by statute. And then there's going to be this strategic acquisition guidance, which is going to support the transition, which is going to result in a new FAR with statutory requirements and practical support buying guides that has been represented, at least so far. This is going to give buyers guidance on how to apply the FAR and the statutory requirements to real world situations. So the Office of Federal Procurement Policy is going to lead this overhaul, and we're going to essentially end up with phase one, which is we're going to start seeing here very quickly, FAR deviations, right? And so as the individual sections, they're going to come out as FAR deviations. That's supposed to happen as early as May of this year, continuing through the end of the government fiscal year and into fiscal year 26 into October and perhaps a little bit longer. And then in the new fiscal year, we're going to actually have the formal rulemaking promulgation process to finalize the quote unquote new FAR. So lots to talk about there, lots of things going on, and we'll certainly keep you posted as we learn more. A couple of interesting points there, right? The initial language says essential. We're going to keep what's essential and required by statute, but then some of the language speaks to a rebuilt FAR with statutory requirements. Is that going to also include things that are still deemed essential, right, by the government, but may not be statute, because there's a lot of things obviously in the FAR that are not statute. So we'll keep you posted as we learn more. Second, Defense Contract Audit Agency. We've seen some questions kind of bouncing around. Are they going to be, what's the agency going to look like, kind of going forward? Here's what we've come across today. And of course that could change tomorrow. But the agency is reorganizing. My understanding is there's going to be some reorganizations in kind of buckets like land, sea, and air, right? But obviously there are a lot of service providers that aren't necessarily specific to land, sea, or air, IT systems and things of that nature. So I'm not sure exactly where that's going to fall, but that's some of the initial intel that we're getting. I've also seen and heard up to about 40 office closures. Now, what I understand so far is a lot of those are sub-offices that are kind of resident offices at contractors, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the employees are going to be eliminated, but there is a push from the agency to reduce lease footprint and to close some of these sub-offices and realign them kind of under a larger conglomerate. And then last but not least, I know at least a couple of regional audit managers or RAMs who were offered buyouts and took those buyouts along with their retirement and are leaving the agency. I think those that are offered buyouts, we'll see how that goes. The concern is obviously it takes senior knowledgeable people out, and sometimes those senior knowledgeable people can be very valuable when going through the audit process, especially when you have a lot of young auditors who haven't been doing this for a long time. Number 3, health and human services. So everybody's seen the news of the layoffs and terminations within health and human services. We've had clients calling and saying our entire program office is gone, right? But we still have a contract in place. And I think part of the kind of USAID playbook is starting to get deployed within Health and Human Services, albeit obviously they're going to have to consolidate who's doing the terminations, and some of these program offices have been completely removed, and clients are saying, I don't even know who to call because everybody's gone. So I think the terminations are going to start probably very quickly if they haven't already, and by the time we actually post this, they probably will have started. But a lot of challenges there, not to mention there's still the litigation around reducing the indirect rate for research grants within NIH and contracts for research within NIH. Haven't seen anything else fall out from a court perspective of whether that's going to remain or whether that's going to get terminated as well. So which I know for a lot of research institutions, they would like that rate limitation to be terminated. So with that, those are updates this week. Please feel free to reach out with any questions. Obviously, information is changing at a very rapid cadence, so we'll try to keep you up to speed as best we can. And until next week, have a good one.